Welcome to the Core Politics morning briefing with me, Rob Double. It's Wednesday, the 23rd of August 2017, and let's have a look at what's making the headlines today. So as you can see, there is two main stories coming through. The first one about the European Court of Justice. We'll touch on that in a second. But let's just go through the general spread of what's happening today. As you can see in the Mirror, the Mail and the Express, big stories regarding Princess Diana. Now, it's coming up to the 20-year anniversary of her death, and the BBC have done a documentary with interviews with Prince Harry and Prince William, and basically these articles are following those interviews. The key quote you need to know is, "He was there for us." Now, that is the quote from Prince Harry talking about his father, Prince Charles's support for him and William in the immediate moments after Princess Diana died. He's saying that he was supportive whilst also grieving for himself at the same time. This obviously comes in the context of a slump in ratings and popularity for Prince Charles. If you remember, there was reports, I think about a month ago, a few weeks ago, about his behaviour whilst Princess Diana was alive, particularly with Camilla Parker Bowles, who obviously is now his wife. This hopefully will go some way, or he's hoping, hopefully will go some way in picking up that popularity. But the BBC documentary is airing in the next few days, so have a look at the TV guides if you want to have a watch of that. Let's look at Afghanistan. Now, this is in the I newspaper, is their big front page. Britain backs Trump surge in Afghanistan. So remember yesterday we talked about Trump changing his strategy in Afghanistan for a more long-term strategy and to take the fight to the terrorists as he sees it. They're quoting Defence Secretary Sir Michael Fallon, who's saying that more NATO troops are necessary to stay the course in Afghanistan, so fully supporting the US's long-term strategy and long-term conflict resolution in Afghanistan. It's also reporting, the Eye is reporting that US generals were the main cause of Trump to change his mind. Obviously, but whilst he was campaigning for president, he wanted to pull out of Afghanistan, whilst now he wants to put more troops in effectively. They said that the emphasis of ISIS's threat by US generals was the reason Trump changed his mind as well. Let's look in focus then at the key story of the day. Now, this is going to be the story which is going to be developing in the next few hours. The BBC Radio 4, if you've been listening to it today, has been going particularly hard on this as well. A policy paper is being released today by the UK government, setting out their idea of what the legal position between the EU and the UK is going to look like when we leave the European Union in March 2017. Now, the key word you need to know in this policy paper is no direct jurisdiction. Now, the term direct here is causing a lot of confusion and a lot of speculation about whether there's going to be room for some kind of binding decisions by the European Court of Justice in areas where there's going to be a close partnership between the UK and the EU post-Brexit. So this is going to be issues such as the rights of EU citizens in the UK, in the arbiter of the actual overall deal and the current terms and conditions between the UK and the EU. And therefore, as you can see in the Telegraph and the Guardian, very different ways of reporting this story. The Daily Telegraph is obviously saying UK law binding after Brexit, which is obviously is criticising the government, saying that the red line that was supposedly for the UK over the jurisdiction of the ECJ isn't actually going to be that crystal clear. And similarly, PM accused of U-turn over EU courts promise. So Theresa May in her Lancaster House speech in January, if you remember, said that ECJ jurisdiction was an absolute red line. It wasn't going to happen after Brexit. Perhaps when the policy paper comes out in a few hours' time, we'll have a better idea about what that actually means and whether there's a bit more nuance there. Final story for today, migration, Europe under threat. Now, this is in the Times, and this is going to follow several stories which they're going to do in the next few weeks over Libya and the conditions in Libya. They're quoting the Libyan Prime Minister, who says that Europe will be more at risk from terrorists posing as migrants if the Western states do not help Libya work to stem the flow of people moving from their country into Europe, where obviously they are then allowed to move freely amongst the countries. About 98,000 migrants have crossed into Libya to Italy. That's this year alone. And Italy, the context in terms of Italy, they are very, very angry at the EU over what they see as them turning a blind eye to their situation. Italy's migrant reception centres have been quoted as saying they are full, and movements such as the Five Star Movement have recently been adopting a more anti-migrant stance, so domestic politics in Italy is very much a concern as well. But that is something which is going to be a more long-term spread in the Times. If you're interested in Libya and interested in the migrant crisis, obviously this has caused a bit of controversy over the link between terrorism and migration. Definitely the Times is the one to watch in the next few weeks. That's pretty much it for today. You're up to date. As always, keep a look at our social feeds on Facebook and Twitter if you want to find out more about what's going on today. But you're up to date for now. We'll see you tomorrow morning.